Yeah.
So, welcome to the Holistic Kids Show. My name is Zane.
My name's Abdullah.
And my name's Iman.
We're the Holistic Kids, here to educate us kids from the inside out. October is here, so is fall and winter. Comes all the holidays. And what comes with holidays?
Our brother's birthday.
We know our brother is turning 1. But what else surrounds all these special occasions?
Especially Halloween.
Yeah.
Well, it's sugar.
Sugar! Did you see that new pumpkin drink from Dunkin' Donuts? It has almost 185 grams of sugar. That's 46 teaspoons of sugar, equal to 14 glazed donuts. And that's it. Americans eat 20 teaspoons of 100 grams of sugar each day. And now it's probably way more than that.
But why is that so bad? Haven't we always been eating sugar? As a treat, it's fine, right?
Well, today we have an expert with us, Dr. Michael Goran. Michael is a professor at pediatrics at the Children's Hospital of Los Angeles, which is affiliated with the Keck School of Medicine at the University of Southern California. Dr. Goran also serves as the co-director of the USC Diabetes and Obesity Research Institute. He has published over 350 professional peer-reviewed articles and reviews and currently serves as the editor-in-chief for Pediatric Obesity. He has been the recipient of a number of scientific awards for his research and teaching. His amazing book, Ahmad, is a bestseller called Sugarproof: The Hidden Dangers of Sugar That Are Putting Your Child's Health, Our Health, at Risk, and What You Can Do. Michael also lives in Silver Lake, Los Angeles, with his wife, Lori, a film editor, and his 2 teenage daughters, and their cat. Outside of work, Michael loves to play tennis, hang out with his family, also which typically involves cooking, eating, and going on walks and traveling. So thank you so much, Dr. Goran. We know you are incredibly busy, especially with that new summit coming up, and we are so honored that you would join us today.
Great. Yeah, happy to be here. Thank you so much for bringing this topic up for conversation in your team.
We needed you to get on this because this is the time of year we kids are going to be bombarded with sugar. How did the professor become passionate about sugar? We would love to hear your story.
Sure, yeah. Well, I was born in Glasgow, raised in Glasgow, Scotland, went to school in Manchester, and came to the US to do research in 1987. That was a long time ago. And became very interested in how nutrition affects children and growth. My first research project was actually in children recovering from burn injury, trying to understand their nutritional needs. And from there, I got interested in just generally the nutritional needs of children, healthy children growing, and how their health and their future health is affected by what you eat. And through the research I've done over those years, learned a lot. And a lot of it became to focus around the impact of sugar on kids' health. And, I do the research, I write all those papers that you mentioned, over 350 papers. The reality is nobody really reads them, at least you probably aren't going to read them. And they get kind of buried and nobody really takes that much notice of them. And I wanted to find a way to accelerate the transfer of that knowledge to people like you and families everywhere around the world who might benefit from A, understanding the issue, and B, providing them guidance on how to take on sugar.
And so so you're talking about in your book, Sugarproof, right? You're going through the dangers of sugar, but isn't sugar in everything? I mean, I'm pretty sure it's in fruits, it's in bananas. I'm pretty sure there's even some sugar in broccoli.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. Mainly we're talking about added sugars. So really there's nothing to be concerned about for the natural sugars in fruits and vegetables, or even the natural sugars in milk and dairy products like yogurt and cheese, those all contain natural sugars. We're really talking about sugars added to food, and liquid sugars like in beverages, like you mentioned what was the drink you mentioned? The pumpkin latte or something?
Yes.
Yeah, pumpkin.
But, there's also sodas and juices. Those aren't, juice is not added sugars, but it's sugars extracted from their natural source, and during that extraction become highly concentrated. So that's what we're really focused on. We're not really concerned. It's all about the natural sugars. You can eat plenty of fruits and vegetables, and that's probably good for you in many different ways.
Now, back on my original question. Why is sugar bad for us kids? Kids have been eating it for years and years, right?
That's right. But we're eating more sugar, number one, and different types of sugar. There's over 250 names for sugar now. And 250, that's right. That's a lot of different types.
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
That's a lot of different types of sugar, so it's become a little more complicated. Plus, kids especially and adults, we're all drinking sugar. It used to be that kids would drink water and milk. That would be their kind of beverages. But now kids are drinking a lot of juice and sodas and pumpkin lattes. And this has more sugar, and it's the liquid sugar that becomes most problematic, because that's when it's most highly concentrated.
So the big question is, obviously, as kids, we like to eat sweet things, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Who doesn't? Most
even
people
as people,
do.
we don't just eat vegetables all the time. We also like to have fruit and all this kind of stuff. So how should we approach this? Should we just give it all sugar? What other things can we use instead of sugar that are actually sweet?
Yeah, that's a great question. And so, we're not saying that we need to or should give up all sugar. I think that's not a great thing. Sugar's, food is meant to be enjoyed, and there's different ways to enjoy sweet treats. But there's other ways we can sweeten things. I mean, what do you like? What do you like to eat?
Well, we like to use honey, right?
Yes, honey, and there's also monk fruits.
Also stevia, right?
Stevia. Stevias is a big one.
Yeah, we should talk about that actually, because that might not be so good. But so if you're using a sweetener, using things like honey, especially raw honey, are good. You just try to use a bit less of it. So like if you're making cookies or a cake for the holidays that are coming up, just cut the sugar down by 20% or a third. So if the recipe calls for a cup of sugar in your cookie recipe, just use 3/4 of a cup.
We actually, whenever we make cookies, we actually don't use sugar at all. We use honey.
Yeah.
Use honey. Well, you use less honey as well. So
Yes, we don't use that.
and you can cut it down, because sometimes what happens is that when it's less sweet, it can actually taste better. You can taste, instead of just tasting the sweetness, you can taste whatever else is in the cookie. So use less sugar in your recipes is one way, and then you can also use fruit itself to sweeten. So like one of the recipes we have on Sugarproof Kids is a blueberry banana muffin. We actually use the sweetness of the banana itself to sweeten. So that's an advantage, because you use the whole banana, so you get all of the nutrients and the taste from the banana. We also have a recipe, for example, for chocolate milk that's really good. A lot of kids like chocolate milk, but most commercial chocolate milks have a ton of added sugars. Whereas if you just take milk, whatever milk you prefer, add some cocoa powder and some banana, for example, you can make your own chocolate milk that's got a lot less sugar in it and is just as delicious.
So a lot of right now, it's almost Halloween. So a lot of kids, they're gonna be eating. They're gonna be eating a lot of candy, right? And the thing is that we don't eat any we don't eat artificial sugar, right? But a lot of these candies have that artificial sugar, which is actually even worse for you, right? And so, I mean, how do we like avoid a lot of the sugars? Because when you go into the market and everything, there's like it's sugars everywhere. I mean, we find sugar in our ketchup, right?
Yeah.
And is that why, because sugar being everywhere, kids are getting sicker and sicker? Do you think sugar is the blame for some of it?
I think that's part of it. Like that's what, sugar has become so widespread and so universal in our food supply. 70% of packaged foods in the grocery store have some type of sugar in it. And if you just look at foods that are marketed to kids, it's 80% of kids' foods have added sugar. But it doesn't have to be that way. So you mentioned ketchup. I mean, there are ketchups that don't have added sugar, and those taste just as good, and they're healthier. And other examples would be peanut butter, or tomato sauce, yogurts, energy bars. Look for ones that don't have added sugar at all or have less than the typical.
What would you recommend for when kids are like getting parties or at parties?
Parties, you like parties?
No.
No, yeah. I mean, we like the party part.
Yeah,
We like the food part.
yeah, it's tough. A lot of parties you go and it's not just the cake, but sweet drinks and party favors and all the rest of it. So I don't know. We like to recommend that before you go to the party, maybe have a decent meal, have a healthy meal, so you're not going to the party super hungry and just consuming a lot of stuff. Take stuff home for later. You don't have to eat it all there, because I think typically what happens is you get overloaded pretty quickly on sugar, and then there could be a meltdown, or there could be a problem. I mean, what the reason that happens is, let me explain what happens in your body when you consume. If you go to a party and you consume a lot of sweet foods like the cake and the cookies and the soda, your blood sugars goes up really high, right? So all those foods get broken down. You need the sugar for energy. There's a reason why we need sugar, and that's for energy. But if there's too much, your body gets energized, and that's why sometimes you'll see at parties kids getting high energy and bouncing off the wall and being super energetic. That's because they have all that sugar in their blood. But then what happens is it gets used up very quickly, where kids are very efficient at metabolizing the sugar, so it falls down really quickly. And then that's when you might have a bit of a meltdown, or you might feel really, what we say, hangry, which is a combination of hunger and being kind of angry and grumpy, and you just want to get more food. So then you get into this cycle of high sugar, low sugar, high sugar, low sugar, and it becomes very disruptive.
So let's talk about liquid sugar. I mean, kids love juices, sodas, any sugary drink. Why is high fructose corn syrup so bad for you?
Yeah, so high fructose corn syrup, which is the main sweetener in sodas, and also fructose is the main sweetener in things like apple juice. And the reason fructose from beverages is so problematic is because it's highly concentrated. It's not at all like an apple, like we mentioned earlier, where if you're eating an apple, you're still getting the fructose, but it's a lot less, and it's released a lot more slowly. Imagine that fructose is inside the apple and it has to be broken down and released. Whereas imagine now drinking a glass of liquid fructose. It's very rapidly absorbed inside your body, and that becomes very problematic. The body doesn't know what to do with it. We weren't ever designed as a machine to be able to process all that fructose coming in very rapidly. So what happens is the liver, you know what the liver is? The liver is our big organ. it's like a big giant filter.
For detoxifying, right?
What's that?
It's good for detoxifying.
It's good for detoxifying. That's exactly what it does. The liver, its job is to filter out all the bad things that the body absorbs, like poisons or drugs or medications or anything bad in food. And one of those things, or I'll mention two things. One is alcohol, and two is fructose. Those are also two things that the liver filters out, and it treats the fructose, and it converts it into fat, and that fat can be deposited in your liver and affect its ability to function. So the liver becomes basically filled up with fat, so it can't do its job anymore, or those fats get put back into the blood and cause your cholesterol to increase, and that is not good over the long term. That can increase your risk for heart disease over the long term.
Yeah, and I think a lot of what kind of because now that a lot of kids are eating all the sugar, right? I mean, some people are eating sugar every single day, you know, and so what can all of this overconsumption of sugar actually do to you? I mean, we know that it affects your liver, you know, causes some problems, but what exactly are those problems? Because I know people are like, oh well, it's just some sugar, you know, what is it gonna do to me?
Yeah, I mean, so a lot of the issue is that it's kind of a lot of these effects can be long term. Geez, I need to move locations. My battery is about to run out. A lot of these issues can be long term, and that can be a problem. Like, for example, the fatty liver disease that I mentioned. That's kind of a silent disease. You might not even know it's happening, but it's because it's very slow. You heard of that experiment where you drop the frog into a pot of water and you slowly increase the temperature?
Yeah.
Yes.
But they don't know what's happening.
Yeah, the frog doesn't quite know what's happening, but at a certain point, it reaches a threshold and the frog can no longer survive because the water's too hot. So it's kind of like that. It's slowly progressing towards liver disease, type 2 diabetes, which is now occurring more commonly in children. It used to be called adult onset diabetes, and that is very problematic because that's when your body can no longer process sugar and can lead to blindness and lead to organ failure. Those are kind of the long-term things. Short-term things to be worried about also are how well you're doing at school. And studies have shown that kids who consume a lot of sugar don't do as well in school because they can't concentrate as well.
Yeah, so what you're saying is that sugar can actually affect how well you can do what your brain works, and how well maybe if you have a test or something, then you can't think properly, and maybe because of the sugar.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yep.
So, in class, they give us before tests, they give everyone else besides me these mints. They're called lifesavers. And it says that it's gonna, well, keep them focused. But it's actually not gonna keep them focused because of the high sugar.
Yeah. So what's happening there is it's like the spike, the big spikes I was mentioning earlier. So if you're going to consume sugar, if it's the special mint or whatever it is that teachers are giving you, for a while, maybe for like 20 or 30 minutes, it will increase the sugars, and your brain does need sugar to function, right? That's the fuel of the brain. That's how it needs energy. So yeah, it will do that, but what happens, it's kind of a rapid spike and then a rapid crash. So it would be better to have something that makes your blood sugars more evenly keeled. That's what we want to try and achieve, is rather than these big spikes, a more even fuel. Like imagine if you were driving a car, but you only gave it a little bit of fuel and then it crashed, right? you want the fuel to be evenly performing throughout the day, so the car just keeps driving all day long.
So, with kids eating sugar breakfast, lunch, and dinner, what is the first step to becoming sugar proof?
Yeah, we talked about the liquid. Here's the book. We talked about the liquid sugar, and that's something we can try to reduce. Or even if you enjoy it, like if you enjoy apple juice, you can dilute it a little bit so it doesn't have to be as high in sugar. But breakfast is important. I don't know what do you like for breakfast? What do you eat in your for breakfast?
A lot of times we have some egg, maybe some pancakes. My mom makes smoothies. We have our smoothies with
Sauerkraut.
sauerkraut. Yeah,
Yeah.
we make our smoothies. We have what we add all kinds of fruit. We add all kinds of vegetables. You know, sometimes we have
It's the easiest way for a mom to
to
sneak in all the stuff that we don't eat regularly, like dandelion greens.
yeah, microgreens as well,
Yeah, microgreens and all of these other weird vegetables.
Oh, yeah.
but that are really important for you.
And then she just like puts it without, so like a banana or some fruits.
And we don't even taste it. It tastes like a
Yeah.
regular fruit smoothie, but there's actually all of these so many nutrients inside.
That's cool. Yeah, so I mean that's one way, but I mean you can also make more subtle changes. Like for example, if you're eating a piece of toast for breakfast, for example, you don't have to put jam on it. Or if you are eating pancakes, I don't know what a lot of kids would just automatically put a lot of maple syrup on their pancakes, but you don't have to do that. You can like smash a banana on there, or you can put some eggs on there, or you can put some cheese. What do you like on your toast or your pancakes?
We just
A berry.
yeah we put honey on it, yeah, and berries.
Berries. Yeah. You can make a really nice, you can make a really nice berry compote. If you just take your berries and put them in the pot for 15 or 20 minutes and boil them down. It's kind of like a jam, but all it is like the fruit. It's just the fruit. There's no added sugars in there.
So a lot of kids today, like we were mentioning before, right? How they have fatty liver from all these processed foods that they're eating, and that doesn't let the liver work the way it should. So how can we prevent that? And if you already have fatty liver, how can you reverse that? Is that possible?
Yeah, so there's studies that have shown that it took kids who had fatty liver, and then they put them on a sugar restriction diet, specifically a fructose restriction diet. Only getting, if you just get fructose just from fruit, not from juice or from sugar, that can reverse fatty liver quite rapidly, actually, in 7 to 10 days. So sugar elimination will work to reverse fatty liver.
So
So you really talked about your book. Can you tell us more about that and your work?
Yeah, so the first half of the book is about how sugar affects the body, and especially kids, why kids are more vulnerable. So we didn't really talk about that today, but there's also this issue of kids being more vulnerable to some of these adverse effects of sugar because our bodies are still growing and developing. And so you can imagine that if something is still growing and you don't give it the right food, it's not going to be good for the growth, right? Whereas if something's already fully grown, it's a bit more tolerant of poor nutrition. So the first half talks about that. The second half is all about the practical solutions, what to do, the tips. And then the third part is all the recipes. We have 30 recipes in the book for different times of the day, and also on our website. We have even more recipes on our website, sugarproofkids.com.
so we love all of this. This is so powerful.
So
So
powerful.
powerful.
So
Thank you.
one more question, one probably last question. A lot of people, when they look in the ingredients, like I tell everyone, whenever they shop, look at the ingredients. So they say, they see what they look at an ingredient, and it won't say sugar, but it'll say high fructose corn syrup, or it'll say something else. So obviously, those are all sugars, right? But why is the worst type of sugar that we should look for that's not called sugar?
Yeah, like I mentioned, over 250 names for sugar. The fructose sugars are probably worse. So not just high fructose corn syrup, but all of the fruit juice concentrates. So you'll see those being used a lot more in the ingredient list. Something like apple juice concentrate. That's basically like taking apple juice and just boiling all the water away until you're left with just a very highly concentrated syrup. That would be apple juice concentrate. So watch out for the fruit juice concentrates. You mentioned briefly the sweeteners like stevia and monk fruit. Those could also be problematic. I would try to avoid those because those could have additional effects on the body. And food companies are very clever. They try to make up names that sound very good, like, for example, organic brown rice syrup. That sounds pretty good, right? It's organic, it's brown, it's rice, but it's the same as corn syrup, except it's made from rice that's organic and brown as opposed to corn that's yellow.
So remember that whenever you're looking at like in the ingredients for juices and stuff, always look to see if it has a kind of concentrate of, because those are usually really just sugar, right? And so, what is one thing kids can do today if they feel overwhelmed? Like, how do I get the entire family on board? Because obviously, it's still hard to get rid of, like, just to immediately just say one day I'm not having sugar. It's hard for a lot of people to do that. So, what is one thing they can do today to start doing that?
Yeah, I mean, it could be as simple as, you know, switching out brands. So, like if you're used to using a ketchup that has added sugar in it, or a yogurt with added sugar, just look for brands that don't have added sugar, or decide you're not going to drink soda in the house. I mean, so I'll have soda when I go to a party or when I go out with friends, but I'm not going to drink it in the house. Or if you like breakfast cereal in the morning, look for a different brand that has less added sugars in it. But also be advocates. Like you guys look like really good advocates. So, what do you say to your friends? How do you advocate this to your friends? What do you tell them?
I think you were right about like using alternatives.
Yeah, that's what we like to do. Also, you don't always have to get rid of, you don't always have to switch immediately. Like, we also, like, sometimes maybe have some sugar only as a treat once in a while. It's not like we eat it every single day. So it's not like you have to give away sugar 100%. I mean, you can still have it as a treat, right, Ahmad?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah, so it's not an all or nothing. A lot of people think it might be an all or nothing, but you can make little baby step changes here and there that can add up over time to a positive effect.
So this was so amazing.
Amazing.
That was so empowering. Everyone make sure to follow Dr. Goran on social media. His book is a must get.
Must get.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Goran, for joining us today.
Thank you guys for all the great work you're doing. This is really powerful stuff. Good job. Thank you so much.
Well, it's our pleasure.
It's our pleasure. So let's recap Dr. Goran's key points.
Not all sugar is created equal. 70% of packaged foods have sugar, and 80% of foods marketed to kids have sugar. When we get a lot of sweet foods, our blood sugar goes up really high, and sugar is needed for energy. But if it's too much, our body then gets over energized. But that gets used up very quickly, and then that leads to a meltdown, right, Zen?
Yeah.
We've seen how some kids can get out of school. They feel hangry, grumpy, and then this just leads to the cycle of high sugar, low sugar, high sugar, low sugar. So remember to get rid of liquid sugars in your juice and soda, and also highly concentrated sugars. And remember to cut sugar in your baking and use less honey in your sugar as well. When it's less sweet, it can actually taste better sometimes because then you can actually enjoy the actual meal. So remember to use less sugar in your baking and also use fruit to sweeten your sugar. To sweeten your sugar taste, like banana. And we also love to sweeten our pancakes with bananas. If you have pancakes instead of my maple syrup.
So get the whole family involved. There are over 250 types of sugars, so become informed. Make easy swaps like breakfast cereals. Look for a brand with less sugar or ketchup with no or less sugar. It isn't an all or nothing. Baby steps can add up over time for positive changes, and you will see positive changes.
And so
So thank you everyone for tuning in. Until next time. My name's Ansari.
My name's Benad.
and my name's Abdullah. Also, remember to follow Dr. Michael Goran on his website. You can go to sugarproofkids.com, right?
That's right. Thank you so much.
So thanks for tuning in. Until next time. I'm Zansari.
We did this already.
Oh yeah, we technically did
So
this
remember
already.
to follow my family and I on social media, Holistic Mom MD, and look out for my mom's all my mom's books because she has a lot.
She has a lot. And she's also working on her 8th book.
8.
Congratulations.
So kids need to learn from other kids. Please download our podcast on iTunes and leave a review so other kids and families can benefit. We need to work together to create a healthy future for all of us and the planet. Join us next week for another episode of the Holistic Kid Show, where kids are empowering kids.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.